What's going on, guys? So this is my first video while driving for a very long time. Fortunately, I'm abiding by the rules by having both hands on the wheel. So what I really wanted to talk to you guys today about was a video that I discovered this morning, and it was a video that was sent to me. I've provided the social media link below. It is on Facebook, unfortunately. But I might save the video and upload it at a later date. It was essentially a man talking to his two younger sons, making them look him in the eye and telling them that it's not okay to whinge and cry about the small shit, right? And he also said in that same sentence, you don't just whinge and cry whenever something doesn't work out. You got to work it out, right? You got to actually try. You got to think about a solution. You got to work it out together, right? Which is an incredible message for a father to be sending his young boys, right? And he told them, look me in the eye. Made sure that they looked him in the eye. Made sure that when they were speaking to each other, they looked each other in the eye, right? Because that's something that's not inherent. That's something that's taught. That's something that people need to learn. And what was really fascinating is not only was he able to instill in them in the space of a few minutes, almost no time at all. Speaking of time, yoga, it's 7:02 a.m. Able to instill in them a few minutes, barely any time, that their kids need to respect their dad, to respect their mum, to show respect to others, to be decent, to problem solve, to find solutions, to not whinge and cry about like, oh, he took my toy. Like, no, that's not the shit you should be crying about. Yeah, we men need to let our emotions out sometimes, of course. We're human fucking beings. But we also need resilience. And we also need to have that mind frame where we don't just run straight to the crocodile tears, or run straight to the box of tissues whenever shit gets a little hard. Because us working to find solutions is what creates men. That's what separates the men from the boys. A lot of things that separate men from boys, and that's one of them. And I saw in the comments section a bunch of women saying, look, don't get me wrong, there was a bunch of women in there saying that this dad is awesome, and he was. And I totally agree with those ladies that said that. But then for the feminist spastics that were going in there saying, oh, those poor boys look terrified, this is child abuse. It's like, you are the problem with society. And you are the exact same hypergamous whores, right? Who were chasing the men that their dad raised right? To not cry about shit, to be men, to be problem solvers, right? It's these women who are actually creating the next generation of feminized boys. I see article after article after article, and to be honest, I'm getting pretty fucking sick to death of them. All of these articles saying, where have all the real men gone? Where have all the good men gone? I mean, they've even got a Good Men Project, for fuck's sake. And this Good Men Project is run by feminists, and it's all like, oh, we need to teach men to respect women, to be good men. It's like, no, fuck off. That's not the good men that you want to bang. That's not the good men that you want to have children with, right? That's not the good men that you actually respect and are attracted to and don't want to leave after 5 years with half his shit. That's not the men you want. You want the men that were raised by their dads to tell them not to cry and whine over the little shit. You want the men that were raised by their fathers to respect other people but not let themselves be walked over, because that's another thing that the father says. You got to respect it. You got to respect adults. You got to respect your family. You got to protect your sisters, and you got to look after your brother. What the hell's wrong with that? I think that's a great message. Now, maybe he went a little over the top when he said at the end, you know, if anyone does wrong by your sisters, you beat them up and then you tell your daddy so he can hit them. That was probably a little too far, that last bit. But without that, absolutely killed it. Absolutely nailed it. Smash it out of the fucking park. Because here's the thing, men and women are different. As much as the gender ideologues, mostly female, don't want to admit it, men and women are different. We receive messages differently. We process information differently. We need different learnings. We need different teachings, right? Because we're not the fucking same. If we were the same, we'd need the same things. But we're not, so we need different things, okay? So, let me tell you a little story. When I was still in early high school, I told my dad to fuck off. I'd never done that before. I was angry at him for something, and I told him to fuck off when he was trying to help me. When I actually reflected back on it, he was just showing love for me. And he wasn't being an asshole, he wasn't being a dick, I was being a selfish little prick. Right? And he said, right, come outside. And we went outside to the garage, and he goes, now put him up. I said, what do you mean? And he goes, put your fists up. He goes, and he basically, and if any of you ever watched a lot of Jordan Peterson, or even some of him, you may have noticed that particular talk that he does about there's always the risk of physical confrontation between men, but that's not acceptable. There's no risk of physical confrontation from a man to a woman, only from a man to a man. So there's no discernible boundaries or barriers that we can or can't cross with women, and that those goalposts can be shifted at any time. Whereas with men, the goalposts are generally quite clear. Sometimes they're a little wider, sometimes they're a little slimmer, but the goalposts are always clear. Right? Like my dad was literally like fists up in the air at me. And that was the first time that I'd ever come under physical threat from my father, other than 2 smacks over the course of my entire life when I was being a really bad kid. And that was his way of asserting his place as the father in the household, and also commanding my respect. What happened after that was that I was so upset and so overcome with emotion that the person that I looked up to, the person that I revered, and the person that I aspired to be more like would actually raise his fists at me. And I went to my room, and then I cried for about 10 minutes solid. I'm still a young kid at this stage. I'm still in my, early teens. And over time, the message and the learnings from that encounter set in. And I can tell you right now, if my father had had the conversation with me that this man in the video had with his sons at the same age, a physical confrontation would have never needed to take place, right? I probably would have got along a lot better in school because I would have behaved myself, but also been a problem solver, which I wasn't until my later years. I've only been a problem solver really for the last 10 years or so, more so in the last 5. Until then, I lived in a victim mentality, place of victim mentality. I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? That's all I knew. So, what to do? But I can't stress this enough. Women raise men to be compassionate, right? And when that compassion is to their own detriment, sometimes it results in them being really angry and unable to control their emotions, because it's all about emotion, right? It's all about emotion and compassion and feelings. There's no logic and there's no rationale. So what you've got now is a man, literally a man, trying to instill core values in his sons, teaching him the importance of respect, teaching him even to respect women, right? By way of his mother and his sisters. He's not extending that to everybody, right? But, you know, I would say that I'm probably more protective of the women in my family than I am not. And I think that's probably largely biologically inherent. I don't ever remember anyone coming out to me and saying, you know, you need to protect the women in your family, but not so much the ones outside of it, right? But I was very, 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 I mean, I just cannot stress how extremely fortunate I am that I was raised out by a father in the home. And you know, that father was working a lot. He worked as a solicitor in my younger years, spent a lot of time at work, didn't get the hands-on rough and tumble and that playtime with dad that I, you know, in hindsight would have liked and probably would have benefited greatly from. And my mum was the most amazing mother. She raised me really well. She always supported me. She always had my back. You know, she was the kind of mum that you hope to have, that you would pray to have if you could pray for a mother before you're born. But you know, she's still female. She's still emotion centric, and that's ingrained. So, you know, she couldn't teach me the things that I would have benefited from learning from my father. Anyway, you know, I guess a lot of these things I've learned myself, and I think a lot of these things my dad would have liked to have taught me, but he couldn't because he was at work. And he said to me recently, he gave me a brass pocket watch. And I think I'll share that with you guys at one stage. And he said to me, he goes, it's like, I want you to have this. He goes, what's this going to do for me when I'm dead? Or something to that effect. He didn't necessarily say, what's it going to do for me when I'm dead? But he basically was just saying, you know, I want you to enjoy this while I'm still here, basically. My dad's in his 70s, very, very healthy, so I'm confident he'll live for another good 15 years solid. Don't know about my mum though. She won't admit it, and she doesn't realize it, but she's got early, if not mid onset of emphysema. So, you know, it just is what it is. This is the thing. If I hadn't learned to problem solve, I'd be crying about it by now. But there's nothing I can do because she's not going to change. I love my mum. She's a great mum, but she's not going to change. You know. But the amount of love I have for my father is indescribable. And the amount of gratitude I have for him, I don't have for anybody else. Because nobody else has made the sacrifices for me that my father made for me when I was a kid. Nobody else worked themselves to the point where they were really struggling to hold themselves together, even this strong, stoic man. Right? And he wasn't, when I say stoic, I mean, he was, I guess, someone that you'd consider a rather sophisticated, also, you know, relatively in tune with himself, while, you know, being on point at the same time. Anyway, guys, I've got to go grab some breakfast, but I really wanted to share that message with you this morning. Make sure that you instill in young men and young boys. Like, I even heard a couple of young boys talking about girls and about them, you know, how to handle themselves around them outside a shopping center. I literally stopped and said, so I'm really sorry, guys. I couldn't help but hear the conversation you're having. And I just wanted to share a little something with you as a man with, you know, a fair few years of life experience that will benefit you. And, you know, they like looked up at me and they listened, and they were listening. Like, they were so intently listening to me, to this stranger who just walked up to them, because they could see that I had genuine intent for them. So that was really cool experience. And I walked away, I had chills that I was able to just make an impact on someone's life like that. Someone that actually wanted to hear it, and someone that would actually apply good knowledge to make their lives better. Anyway, guys, I'm out of here for now. I appreciate you all. Thanks for listening. If you know anyone who is a father, if you know anyone who's a mother, if you know anyone that is an uncle or an auntie, or just basically knows anyone with kids, share this video with them. That's right, Good Dog Talks. It is called Hungry Eyes. When just like you're hungry for what the other person's got to say, like you want to hear it. And they thanked me for it. And I was so happy that I could have that impact. All right, guys, I appreciate you all. I'm out of here. Have a great day. Peace.